And welcome back. We are at Independence Indoor Shooting. We've got our panel. We're going to hear from Wes, more from Steve, and that's the sound of live gunfire this morning here. Kevin Miller in the morning. Lieutenant Governor candidate Janice McGeachin is with us. We will speak with her. A lot going on this morning. Joining us now, our great friend from the Convention of States, Mark Meckler. And Mark, wish you were back here in Idaho, right on the range, broadcasting live from Independence Indoor Shooting. Good morning, sir.
I got to tell you, best background sounds in an interview ever. Great to be with you.
Good to have you with us. So our friends Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and you have continued on with the Convention of States concept. Where are we right now, sir?
Where we are, I think we've just hit a very exciting and interesting milestone, something I couldn't have predicted 4 years ago when we started this thing. We just had our 1 millionth petition signer, so that means 1 million people across the country have actually physically stepped up, signed the petition in support of the Convention of States project, and those petition signers are spread all over the country in every single state legislative district in America. So that's a pretty big deal for us that we're celebrating right now.
Indeed. What do you say to the critics?
Look, it depends on who they are. There's two ways to look at this. If you're in favor of taking the power away from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to the people, then you're in favor of Convention of States. If you like the status quo, if you like the swamp, if you like all the power, money, and corruption and insanity in Washington, D.C., well, then you should be against the Convention of States project.
What do you make of what happened here in Idaho?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm just going to be point blank what happened in Idaho. You had a bunch of fear-mongering, crazy people who came out and scared the legislature away from doing it. These are people that, though they will not say this, are aligned with the radical left in America. Hillary Clinton has directly spoken out against this. George Soros and all of his organizations in America have spoken out against this. Planned Parenthood has spoken out against it. La Raza has spoken out against it. MoveOn.org. And those who claim to be conservatives use the exact same talking points as Hillary Clinton, La Raza, Planned Parenthood, and George Soros. So I say they're either fake conservatives or they've been duped by the radical left in America and now serving as their tools.
Mark Meckler joining us from the Convention of States. Mark, what do you make of the attacks on President Trump?
I think it's just an attempt to delegitimize a duly elected president. We're seeing this is a new phase of politics in America where somebody could be a duly elected president and they're attempting to deny him his presidency. I have to say it's amazing to me all the stuff that's actually getting done in Washington, D.C. that I like, despite the attacks of the left in America.
So when we take a look at what a Convention of States would mean for the lives of folks in Idaho, how would their lives be better? Would we have more representation of government as opposed to the lobbyists and others running the show?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally what the Convention of States is intended to do is answer the question, who decides, with we the people of Idaho decide. Here's how your government functions today in Idaho. Roughly 65% of your state budget is controlled by the federal government. Most people don't realize that. I want people to let that sink in. It means only 35% of the money raised in Idaho from taxes and fees in Idaho actually is spent at the discretion of the Idaho legislature. So you have this fantasy, we all have this fantasy, that our state legislatures run our state government. The reality is most of it is run by the federal government, by federal mandates and dictates. And so the way it would look is the federal government wouldn't tell you what you can do with your environment. The federal government wouldn't tell you what you could do with your education system. Idahoans would decide for Idaho, which is how it was always intended to be.
Easier said than done. Would it impact what we're championing here this morning, the Second Amendment?
Absolutely not. In fact, specifically in a convention, there would not be allowed any discussion even of the Second Amendment. I'll tell you, those on our side, quote unquote, the conservatives who are against this, threw out this fear-mongering stuff about the Second Amendment. Amazingly, sitting on my legal advisory board is a guy named Chuck Cooper, who is a constitutional lawyer who litigates at the Supreme Court level on behalf of the NRA for the Second Amendment. And he serves on our legal advisory board. He actually issued an open letter to these crazy people like the folks in Idaho who said this would affect the Second Amendment. He said he's been a constitutional lawyer. He was Reagan's personal constitutional lawyer during the Reagan administration. He says it's outrageous that they would claim this could affect the Second Amendment. It's offensive. It's untrue. It's a straight-up lie.
Indeed. Our great friend Mark Meckler joining us from the Convention of States. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Mark, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, I want to put in a pitch for you and local talk radio. Local talk radio is the heartbeat of America. I've been in 43 states in the last couple of years. You guys are blessed and privileged to have a guy like Kevin on the air who's so connected to your community. You get the national news perspective, but you get it from a local guy who's just like you. Really important that we support people like Kevin.
Well, Mark, we really appreciate it. And the next time you're in town, we're going to take you to Indian Creek Steakhouse for a big steak.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you, sir. Our great friend, Mark Meckler, joining us. We are live at Independence Indoor Shooting. Looks like our panel has left us. Jess McGeehan will join us coming up in 20 minutes. If you're a candidate, you want to run for office, you're running for office, well, if you want to come on the air, you've got to fire your weapons. Now, Two Fly Briar, are you going to go fire, or what? Are you just walking around with your headphones on your head?
Yeah, they've got a limited availability at the moment.
You're in line.
Yeah, I'm in line. That's correct. So I'm going to make sure I can get in there and enjoy some range time.
All right. He looks like a range guy, doesn't he, Steve? He looks like he's home on the range.
Yeah, home on the range.
Yeah, look at him,
With
which
the
really
beard.
works well for radio.
It does. Yeah,
Yes.
It's a good thing that we're on radio only.
Right. All right, so we urge folks to come down and stand in line with you.
Indeed, yeah, they can.
That sounds like an exciting time, doesn't it?
Hey, you can talk to each other, discuss guns, discuss ammunition. It's a great time.
Get your picture taken with the good K. Millie,
And tickets to the Boise Music Festival.
BMF.
Exactly. Let's go to Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio from the range at Independence Indoor Shooting. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Kevin, and I am extremely jealous of everybody who could be there. I have issues with getting up this early, but I just wanted to say it's a great range. I have been there, strongly recommended. And I would like to repeat for your audience this morning, the context of the Second Amendment is the Declaration of Independence. That's the founding document of the United States, and that is the establishment document. That's our legal background for the Constitution. And if you want to know what the Second Amendment is about, it has nothing to do with hunting. It is to enable us to fulfill the only duty mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. There's lots of rights there, but only one duty. And let me read this to you quickly. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. And that's what the Second Amendment is about. And when somebody says, well, why do you need an assault weapon? And your answer is because I have a duty to fulfill. As an American citizen, it is my government, it is my Constitution, and I have a duty to ensure that it does not become despotism. And you look at where all the wonderful socialist countries in the world end up, Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela is our latest, and they start registering the guns, and then they take a few away, and then they take a few more away, and then they take them all, and there you are, and the only people left with guns are the government. And that's just a warning, and that's what the Second Amendment's about.
I agree with you. Listen to this comment, Pete.
The bottom line is you can keep raising the age of when to buy a firearm. What do you do? If it's 22, do you say raise it to 23? If it was 25, do you say raise it to 26? Evil exists in the world. You will never regulate it away.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the other thing you look at is if we can't trust 18-year-olds with long arms or pistols, why do we trust them to vote? Shouldn't we ignore that amendment to the Constitution, tell them they can't vote till they're 21 now? It's the same stuff.
Pete, great call. Wish you were here.
Oh, and by the way, I just in the lines of my favorite firearm, and it's kind of hard to decide. I just bought a little Ruger 9mm takedown carbine that's really fun. But of them all, it's probably my M1 Garand that I got back in '82 under the Director of Civilian Marksmanship. And just to make your other members there jealous, I paid $125 for it.
Pete, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Let's go to Liberty Linda with Kevin Miller from Independence Indoor Shooting at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, I'd come down there. However, I'm such a good shot. You know, I would beat anyone there that would challenge me.
See, this is what I like. I wish we could have done that where everybody would talk smack about their shots and then we'd have them come down and prove it.
Well, it has been a while, but once one of my teachers challenged me, and he was a sharpshooter when he was in the service, and I beat him.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty good, and haven't done it for a while, but anyway.
We wish you were here because we've got ammunition from American Reserve Munitions, and look, after the third time I can pronounce it correctly, which is wonderful for this show. We've got the ability for you to fire for free on the range, thanks to our friends at Independence. Maybe the next time we're here, you'll come down and wake up early with us.
Oh, I'll do that. How about that? I will do it next time.
Okay.
And Pete's call was wonderful, and I'm so thankful you're all getting together there, and we're celebrating, our Constitution, the Second Amendment, and I just want to say that I am against the Convention of the States. If they have it, they can throw anything out. We'll never know what could happen if we have that. So anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, sure shot, Shirley.
Okay, you have fun down there this morning.
Thank you, Liberty Linda.
Okay, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. As we wait for more folks to come down and fire some weapons, we would love for you to join us at Independence Indoor Shooting. We've got Two Fly Bride here. We've got some other folks. We've got Art who's going to teach us about the Second Amendment. But, again, when you hear about gun-free zones, when you talk about safety, when you talk about all these things, this is the day that we're, again, instead of just talking, showing, how to safely fire a weapon, how to safely protect yourself. Lots of great courses here at Independence Indoor Shooting, which we've talked about for years. We would love to see you this morning. Where else are you going to come by and have a weapon to fire, ammunition to use for free, right? And plus, I just love the sound of the firearms, the gunshots in the morning. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And welcome back. Kevin Miller here at Independence Indoor Shooting. Wes is joining us from American Reserve Munitions. Wes, thank you for joining us once again.
Glad to be here.
So, firearms industry in Idaho, what's it like?
We have got found a load of new friends in the other firearms industries in Idaho. A couple years ago, we went down to SHOT Show. That's the industry's big show down in Vegas once a year. And Idaho, the state of Idaho Commerce Department sponsored a nice little dinner for everybody. But we had 51 companies from Idaho showing their firearms-related wares at SHOT Show. So we have that many active big companies in Idaho, many of them right here in the Treasure Valley, and they don't get noticed a whole lot, in my opinion, by us locals that grew up here.
Indeed. Many years ago, we started this website called, or a Facebook, Gem State Gun Jobs, where we were trying to lure some of the big manufacturers here, like Ruger and all these folks, because at one time they were, up in the air, but instead of having these big folks, it's better to have many smaller companies that employ local people and make a difference. Would you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. And some of these, we might see them as small companies, but some of them, they are big players in the industry.
Right. So what about you? What got you into this business?
That's a really good question. Had a good friend that when things were tight with ammunition, decided that we might be able to do something about that. We went and did a bunch of research and came out eventually with being able to produce our own ammunition. And
so what were you doing before this?
Oh, I had a specialty contractor business here in the valley doing commercial work.
So you're doing commercial work, and all of a sudden you get into the ammunition business.
Yeah.
Was that a culture shock?
Major culture shock.
What's the perception of being in the gun industry as opposed to, and we're hearing people right now, you're listening to live fire going on at the Independence Indoor Shooting Range in Meridian. We'd love for you to stop by. But what's the perception of being in the industry, considering whenever there's a tragedy happening, we always have the negative stories on guns?
We're always fearful of those negative reactions, But for everybody that we see that come into, they come visit us. We have a little retail place at the plant where they can buy stuff. Everybody that come in, all the locals, everybody that we have grown up with and are here has always been very positive. They can see through some of the hype and the knee-jerk reactionism that seems to be going on with these incidents.
What do you think Steve's firing back there?
That should be our 223 we brought in today.
Right. Exactly. All right, folks. Let's go to traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk. And like I said, here we are at Independence Indoor Shooting. We would love to see you here. I'm just at Wes. I'm addicted to the sound of gunfire over the air and the morning radio. Your thoughts?
Oh, we get to hear it every day when we're testing at the plant, so we love it.
Indeed. If people want more information, you're going to stay with us here. You're donating the ammunition today. But if people want more information where they can buy ammunition made right here in Idaho, what can they do?
Just go to armunitions.com, or if you're headed up to McCall, anywhere along Highway 55, headed out of Boise, drop by and see us. We're there from 9 until 5 every day and 9 to 2 on Saturdays.
All right, Wes. Thank you very much. So we hear them reloading in the back there. Much more coming up. Let's go to Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing today?
I'm living the dream. Where are you, brother?
Right now, I just pulled into Boise. Got to take my oldest son to the doc.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Hope he's okay.
Yeah, it's getting his heart looked at. Anyway, if you could ask all the political type persons you got there,
sure.
Are they going to do anything about the Hughes Amendment if they get in the position of power?
Well, we will ask them, yes.
Hughes Amendment was passed back in May 1986, if I recall correctly, and it was wrongly passed. Basically, Charlie Rangel had the gavel, and this was part of the Gun Owners Protection Act, and they tacked this amendment on right at the tail end. And they had a vote on it, and it was just everybody in favor, everybody opposed, and the opposed was massive. And Charlie Rangel hit the gavel and said, right, amendment passes, when everybody in the hall knew it had. So the guy says, hey, wait a minute, I want a by name vote. They did. Again, it was voted down. Charlie Rangel again said, right, it passes. Bam. And under the rules, he determined that. So it's wrongly passed, and it became law. I'm just like, excuse me, what? I don't know the procedure to get that. I know that only Congress can change it because it happened in their house. I don't know why nobody since then hasn't done something. They hit it. The congressional record says it didn't pass. It didn't. The voice vote was against. But because he had the gavel, he got it passed. So, like, why hasn't somebody challenged this? Why hasn't somebody done something about this? This was wrong. This is a law now. People have gone to jail because of this law, and nobody is opposed to it, or nobody is willing to get off their fantail and say, this is wrong. I just wonder if any of these politician-type persons can tell me what's going on.
Fair enough, Tom. I'll ask them about the Hughes Amendment coming up, sir. Hope your son's okay, sir.
Hey, Kevin? Oh, yeah, he'll be okay. It's pre-op, check his heart stuff. Kevin, next time you're doing something like this, contact the Iwaka. We'll bring some of our toys out and really show you how to rock and roll.
The Iwaka?
Idaho Automatic Weapon Collectors Association.
Duly noted. Thank you, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The momentum continues to build here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Lori in Boise with Kevin Miller from Independence Indoor Shooting. Good morning, Lori.
Hello, Kevin. Thank you for everything you do. Really admire you. And I was on the phone yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Anyway, I heard it replayed today with Mike Simpson, and I was saying I was in favor of the Convention of States because my children are in their 40s, and some of the same people have been there for their entire lives. This is not right. And he defended his staying in office, running over and over again, and saying, we need professionals, essentially. That's what he was saying. We need a professional elite running the country because we have experience, and that's what's good. That is not what the framers intended. They intended for people to not be professional. They were very specific in the ratification debates about that. And this idea that we have government by professional bureaucrats, that is where we are now. We have these huge bureaucracies. That is who runs this country. We cannot get away from that unless we have the Convention of States, unless we rein in these bureaucracies, unless we rein in with term limits and have a more governance by the people, really by the people. And so this idea that everything will run away, the Second Amendment will be injured, and so on, that is not possible. The numerical equations going into this thing where you have to have two-thirds, you have to have three-fourths of the states ratify. This is not going to undermine. This is going to strengthen our government. And I want to say one thing about the ad that was on right before I came on about Tommy Alquist voting for Democrats, and he would undermine the Second Amendment. That is so disingenuous. He is for the Second Amendment, and I'm for the Second Amendment. We cannot preserve our liberties unless we bring in government, and I don't see another way unless we can get with the Convention of States. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. One more. We'll go to Pro-Life, who surprised he's not here at Independence Indoor Shooting. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Well, hey, I'd probably have to pay for my ammunition, wouldn't I?
Now, wait a minute. You see, you're not listening. Wes?
Yeah?
Brought all your ammo for you.
American Reserve Munitions,
wow.
An Idaho company, and maybe you should apologize to us.
I do. I'm very, very sorry. I didn't hear that, and I've been listening too, but that's very nice that you're doing that.
Yes.
Well, anyway, about the Second Amendment. You know, the Second Amendment, there's something greater than the Second Amendment, and that's a natural right. Now, not every country in the world has a Second Amendment. A Second Amendment is just the governmental acknowledgement of a natural right to protect yourself with whatever means it's right to protect yourself with. That doesn't have to necessarily mean firearms. Now, another thing I want to say about losing your Second Amendment right or your natural right to have a firearm, legislatures, they pass laws saying that this person's a felon, they lose their firearm privilege.
Right.
And their family loses their firearm privilege to have it in the house if they're in the house. Maybe even if they're in prison, that prisoner's house with his wife and children, while he's in prison, they can't have a gun there. That's total baloney. And I say that the only way you should be able to lose your Second Amendment firearm right is through a jury. And if a jury says that you get to keep it, you keep it. If they take it away from you, you take it away from you. And we don't let legislatures just pass these blanket laws taking the rights away from people. And but we do. We do that all the time in all kinds of subjects.
All right,
So
Pro-Life,
anyway,
thank you for the call. God bless.
All right. God bless you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good.
And KIDO Talk Radio, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Janice McKeon, joining us here. Good to see you in person.
Good morning, Kevin. It's really great to be here and be with you this morning.
Well, you know, you've been on the road so much. It's great for you to swing into Independence Indoor Shooting and talk about and speak about a topic that is so near and dear to your heart, the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah, and it's really cool to be here at this place, this facility. I think that these types of businesses are so critical right now, and it's really amazing seeing all the different ammunition, firearms, and even the ability to go out and practice shooting. It's so important right now for us to be prepared and properly trained to be able to use the firearms safely. And this is something that we, in our business in Idaho Falls, we have a restaurant, and some of our employees were very concerned about their safety in the case of an active shooter situation. And we need to not cower away from the threat that is real. And the mentality of running and hide doesn't work anymore. So we need to prepare ourselves prepare our employees, even prepare people in our school systems to be prepared and know how to fight back against these real threats to our safety and security.
Has really the Second Amendment come up when you've been in these forums and debates and Lincoln Days on the trail at all?
It has. It's a big deal. In fact, some of our advertising that we've done with my campaign on the Second Amendment have been some of the most widely received and viewed. So it's a big deal for a lot of people here in Idaho. I do respect our Second Amendment right. I am the lieutenant governor candidate who earned the personal endorsement of Dick Heller, whose case with the Washington, D.C. went all the way to the Supreme Court, affirming our right to keep and bear arms as
How'd you like
US
the machine
citizens.
gun in the background there? Yes.
Love it. I'm going to go back there afterwards.
Please do. But you're right about that. The Second Amendment is under siege now. You could have run for a lot of offices. You've served in the State House. You've got a life, a wonderful family. Why jump into this arena? What makes you run for lieutenant governor? I mean, now that it's over and the longest campaign ever in Idaho history, but why run for this office, ma'am?
Because I served in the Idaho legislature for 10 years, and I honored the vote of people of term limits. I took myself off the stage, went back to the private sector to create jobs, and I'm concerned about what I see happening in our state in the past 6 years, where decisions being made in Boise continue to increase our reliance on the federal government. 35% of our budget now comes from federal debt finance dollars that our kids and our grandkids are going to have to pay back. Those federal dollars come in the form of grants and just all kinds of different ways that the policymakers have been accepting that money into our budget. And now everything we do, whether it's how we teach our kids, what kind of health insurance products we buy, who we buy it from, how we build our roads and how we manage our resources, all of that now is dictated to us by the federal government. And I view that as a real threat to our sovereignty, our ability, our independence in the state of Idaho to be able to solve our own problems and do what's best for our state. And so because it's an open seat, with the current lieutenant governor running for governor, I view it as an opportunity to get back involved, and coupled with my 10 years of legislative experience, my 30-plus years of experience in creating jobs and building up Idaho companies and maintaining Idaho companies, and really knowing what it takes to be successful and create jobs and support Idaho families. That's what we do, and that's what I would like to help in this capacity.
Indeed. Janice McKeon joining us here. Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Our great friend NRA Bruce is with us as well. Two Fly Bry. We've got American Reserve Munitions here. Do you think that people really understand the folks that are here at Independence? Because we seem to vilify people that are pro-Second Amendment. You and your advertising, you're talking about an AR-15, you're talking about protecting yourself. What does the progressive media, what don't they get about people that love America?
I think their ultimate goal is just to ban weapons and take away our Second Amendment right. When you think about it, I looked at this the other day. Since Columbine happened, a tragic event in America, 6,934 days ago. What has changed since then? Nothing. We still have schools that are unprotected. Our kids, you can just walk onto the campus. Nothing has happened. And I think that is so unfortunate that we're not being more proactive to address the safety of our classrooms and our kids. So we just keep going on as if we live in decades ago. We live in a new world, and we need to be more proactive and deal with the real threat that we live with today. A weapon is an inanimate object. The weapon doesn't cause the harm. It is the bad person using the inanimate weapon with the intent of causing harm. So that's what we have to deal with. We have to be much more proactive and smarter and learn how to fight back and learn how to be disruptive to the plans of the individual who intends to harm us and our family.
More with Janice in a minute. Let's go to Matt Otter at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Matt Otter.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Janice. How are we doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing very well, I've been looking very hard at the governor and the lieutenant governor candidates, and I just want to say, Janice, that you had my eye from the beginning, and I'm definitely going to be voting for you. You have a great record, and you're not a smear campaign kind of person, and I really admire that. As far as the governor race, Kevin, you know me. From the beginning, I like Dr. Alquist and I like Congressman Labrador. But with these smear campaigns that Tommy Alquist is doing is not right. He's smearing the reputation of a great man who helped our veterans, who helps everyday Idahoans. And I just wanted to say Raul Labrador for governor and Janice McKeegan for lieutenant governor.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate your vote and your confidence. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to being your next lieutenant governor.
All right,
Thank you
Matt.
very much. You guys have a great day.
Matt Otter with the endorsement. Let's go to Greg Pruitt from the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, who is on remote location but always in our hearts. The Second Amendment activist on Facebook. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Greg.
Hey, I just wanted to ask real quick. We passed constitutional carry in 2016, and we're looking at expanding that to include all law-abiding adults 18 and over all across the country. Is that something you would support or oppose?
Yes, and I do think that law that was passed in 2016 needs to be readdressed because was it 2014 or 20? I think it was 2014. It needs to be readdressed because the definition of a public entertainment facility has been on the campuses has been interpreted to it could mean the student union building, and so I think that that needs to be readdressed, as well as the 2 years after that where we did pass the open carry law in Idaho. So there's kind of a disconnect between the two laws, in my opinion, that needs to be readdressed.
Yeah, we're talking about constitutional carry. Open carry has been allowed in the state for a very long time. Constitutional carry is your ability to carry concealed without a permit. That's what was passed in 2016. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, Greg, it sounds like you're not awake.
It sounds like I'm not awake. What are you talking about, Kevin?
There we go. There's some. I'm with you. We wish you were here. We've got some firing on the range here.
I'm getting ready to move back, man. I'll be there by the end of the month, and so I'm a little exhausted between doing election stuff and just packing up to move back to Idaho. But I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you in spirit.
Well, we can't wait to have you back home, brother.
All right, sounds good, man. I'll come on as soon as I get back.
We'll have you on, and the next time we're here, we'll have you with us.
All right, take care, brother.
All right, our great friend Greg Pruitt from the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, just talking about the importance of this. Janice McKeegan joining us, candidate for lieutenant governor. Everybody says they're in the governor's race, they're the most pro-Trump. In your race, they're the most conservative. How do you distinguish and differentiate yourself from the other folks in your field, ma'am?
Well, I am the only lieutenant governor candidate who did support President Trump from the very beginning. I served as the first vice chair for the state of Idaho for Trump Team Idaho, and I was also a delegate for Trump, so I was honored to cast a vote for President Trump at the 2016 Republican National Convention. And when Trump made his announcement that he was going to run, I was mesmerized by what he had to say about how government on the federal level has just gotten to be so too big, too intrusive, and too out of touch with the people, and that the business as usual in Washington D.C. K Street is all about taking care of the special interests, the lobbyists, the politically connected, and not paying attention to the people of America. And so and he talked about, as being a businessman, he talked about how excessive regulations and taxation creates a huge impediment, how we have these policies and these deals that benefit other countries over America, and that it's time to start taking care of America and being more concerned about the people of America rather than everyone else in the world. So his message really resonated strongly with me. It's what helped to inspire me to get back involved in the process. And then just seeing, after being there and stepping back and seeing how our state has progressed more and more towards being a slave to the federal government, and wanting to peel back on some of those restrictions and free up our prosperity, our liberties, our freedoms, which will free up our prosperity. Idaho is 44th lowest in the nation in the measure of personal per capita income, and that's a measure of wealth and the productivity. So that means our economic output. If we could have greater economic output, then that will raise the boat of all of us here in Idaho so that our kids can stay in Idaho and be able to have good paying jobs.
Well, we know you're concerned about that as a small business owner. If people want to get a hold of you to find out more about your candidacy, what can they do?
If you go to Janice for Idaho, it's my website. You can learn more about my personal life, my record, which speaks for itself as a conservative voter, and some of the positions that I have on policy. And I'd love to have the opportunity to hear from you and your concerns. I've really enjoyed traveling all over the state of Idaho this past year. We have a beautiful state, and there's so many wonderful people. I'd be so honored and proud to represent all of you and work together with you to help improve the opportunities especially for our next generation, our kids.
Well, thank you for swinging in today.
Yeah, you bet. It's really great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, if you swing in, we would love to give you some tickets to the Boise Music Festival. You can meet Ravishing Randy, another member of the Miller Militia. In addition to that, we are at Independence Indoor Shooting, proudly supporting the Second Amendment. We've got NRA Bruce with us. We've got Wes from American Reserve Munitions. We've got Steve here. We're at Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, right off Overland Road. Stop by, and Janice is going to go shoot. All right, stop by and see us and fire some weapons thanks to American Reserve Munitions and our friends at Independence. That's what you're hearing right now. That's right. We're training right here at Independence Indoor Shooting for self-defense and, of course, protection. Proudly supporting the Second Amendment here at KIDO Talk Radio. Remember, if you miss something, you can always go to KIDOTalkRadio.com for our podcast. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And we're moving along. Do you want to thank our friend Bob in Meridian for swinging by? We're here till 9. We would love to see you. You're hearing the gunshots on the range, Independence Indoor Shooting. Thanks to American Reserve Munitions. Our friend Wes is with us. We've got NRA Bruce. We would love to take more phone calls. Janice McGeehan is back firing weapons now. Truly a Second Amendment activist. Let's go to Wes here real quick. You wanted to let everybody know about the federal excise tax on ammunition, which is an appalling 11%.
That is correct. A lot of people don't realize that nationwide, every piece of ammunition that we fire, the 11% has been paid by a manufacturer or distributor along the way for them to be able to purchase that. And so it's just one of those taxes that's out there that is a little unseen, kind of like the gas tax at the pump. It's not very visible. Just want to let everybody know. But on the plus side of that tax, many of those funds do come back to our communities in the form of grants for shooting ranges. And a lot of those are ran through right now through the Fish and Game Department, the Idaho Fish and Game Department, and in putting together nice ranges for us to go out and practice on and keeping those open for us.
Indeed. You like what you do?
Absolutely.
All right, Wes, hang on. We appreciate you donating the ammunition today. Your website again?
armunitions.com.
That's Idaho made, Idaho company right here to buy your ammunition. Traffic and weather. All right, much, much more from Independence Indoor Shooting. We'd love to see you here till 9. Free ammunition to fire on the range, free weapons to fire. Our friend NRA Bruce is with us, and I love this. Idaho Friends of the NRA, they're giving away over 100 guns and a new truck full of guns. What's this about?
Well, the Friends of the NRA is a 501c3 non-political.
No,
group
just tell us the prizes.
The prizes? Well, yes. our fundraising, one of the ones that we do statewide, and actually this is nationwide. You don't have to live just in Idaho.
Don't have much time, so you got to get to the skinny.
Okay, basically it's our fundraiser to try to get some our money so we can donate back to Idaho groups.
How do people enter?
You can get hold of me. Okay.
Do you have a website, phone number? Stay tuned. We'll figure it out next.